You're probably scrolling through a sea of home gym options because you want something that actually works day after day, doesn't turn your garage into a construction site, and won't feel like a money-draining experiment. The fear of spending a few $100s on a piece of equipment that ends up as a half-built curiosity is real, especially when every manufacturer promises studio-grade performance. That hesitation is what most of us feel before we finally pick a squat rack, a pull-down, or a whole-body strength station. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started digging into the world of home Smith machines, the first thing I noticed was the gap between the headline numbers 1,000 pound capacity, multiple attachments, multifunction claims and what actually matters when you're loading plates, doing a set of lat pull-downs, or tucking a landmine bar into the corner of a spare room. The RitFit Smith Machine Power Rack tries to bridge that gap by bundling a lat pull-down system, a landmine attachment, a standard barbell, plate-stooge pegs, and a few other pieces into a single footprint. That's a lot of hardware in one package, which can be both a blessing and a hidden trade-off. Let's start with the setup. The box arrives on a pallet with the rack already partially assembled, which saves you the nightmare of having to bolt together a 200 pounds frame from scratch. You still need a wrench and a level, but the instructions are laid out step by step with clear diagrams. The whole thing sits on a pair of rubber feet that absorb some floor vibration, and the base spreads wide enough that, even when you're loading a full 300 pounds bar, the unit stays put. In practice, that means you can place it on a garage concrete slab or a wooden floor without worrying about the rack tipping over during a heavy squat. Now, who actually benefits from this setup? If you're a dedicated home gym enthusiast who wants to do a variety of lifts without buying 3 separate machines, this all-in-one design makes sense. The lat pull-down bar slides smoothly on its own track, letting you train your back without needing a separate cable machine. The landmine attachment is a nice surprise for those who enjoy rotational work, kettlebell-style swings, or anti-rotation core drills. And because the rack includes plate-stooge pegs, you can keep your 45 pounds plates within arm's reach, cutting down the time you spend hunting for weight. On the flip side, if you're someone who only needs a simple squat rack or you already own a cable system, the extra attachments become dead weight. The lat pull-down track, while functional, isn't as robust as a dedicated plate-loaded pulley system you'd find in a commercial gym. In real-world use, the cable can feel a bit soft after a few hundred representatives, which is fine for moderate volume, but might be limiting if you're chasing high-rep hypertrophy sets. Also, the landmine sleeve is a solid steel rod, but it doesn't have the quick-change collars you see on higher-priced rigs, so swapping plates takes a few extra seconds. One practical strength that shows up day after day is the storage efficiency. Most home users complain about clutter plates on the floor, cables draped over chairs, a bar propped against a wall. The RitFit Rack's peg system eliminates that mess by giving each plate a dedicated spot. I've seen people set up a full 10-plate stack, 500 pounds total, and still have room for a bench and a couple of dumbbells. That compactness is a real win for anyone with a limited garage or basement footprint. A hidden downside emerges when you consider the range of motion on the squat. Because the machine uses a guided bar path, the bar can't move as freely as a freestanding squat rack. For lifters who rely on subtle adjustments in foot placement, or who like the feeling of a bar moving in a natural arc, the Smith machine can feel restrictive. In a typical home workout, that restriction may actually help beginners maintain balance and stay safe, but seasoned powerlifters often report feeling boxed in. That's not a flaw, it's a design choice, yet it's something to weigh before you spend your budget. Another point that's easy to overlook is the noise level. When you drop the bar after a heavy set, the steel-on-steel contact can echo through a small apartment. The rubber feet mute some of the vibration, but the guide rails themselves don't have any built-in dampening. If you share a wall with a home office or a bedroom, you may need to invest in a mat, or accept the occasional complaint from a neighbor. It's a small inconvenience compared to the cost savings of having a multifunction station, but it's part of the real-world picture. Let's talk durability. The frame is constructed from 11-gauge steel, which is the same thickness you'll find on most commercial-grade racks. In my experience, that steel holds up to repeated loading without bending. The lat pull-down cable is a steel-braided line with a plastic housing. After a few months of consistent use, it shows no fraying. The Landmine sleeve is welded solidly to the frame, so